What is the forgotten adoption option? Many are aware of infant international adoption, where you hire an agency, often wait a long time, and spend tens of thousands of dollars. And then there's becoming a foster parent, where you may or may not adopt the children. But there is a third option, where you adopt children directly from the foster care system. I call this the forgotten adoption option. In fact, 30% of children currently in foster care are adoptable, and you don't need to be a traditional foster parent to adopt them. Hi there, I am Marcy Bursack. After blogging my experience adopting a pair of biological siblings through the foster care system, people started asking me to explain the process to them. And it's difficult to navigate, but the families I mentor feel that knowing the barriers, the challenges, and what to expect has actually helped them persevere and pursue their dream of adopting. And while I would love to have a really big family, adopting thousands of children isn't exactly realistic, but I can teach others how. Whether you're trying to figure out how to get started, you're battling some doubts and fears, or maybe you know someone who wants to adopt, I'm here with resources to help others discern if foster care adoption is the path for them. And if it is, I have practical tips and resources for them as well. You can find all of these resources, which include my blog, 3 books, an app, and a classroom lesson at forgottenadoptionoption.com. However you found this podcast, I am so glad that you did. I want to extend an invitation to you to reach out to me to ask anything on your heart. My goal is to help every waiting child be in their forever family. And that's why I host this podcast. Welcome to the Forgotten Adoption Option podcast. In this episode, you'll hear how a waiting child found his forever family. In 2013, Davion warmed hearts around the world after standing up before a Florida church congregation and asking for a family to adopt him. I don't know if you remember this. I remember seeing this in the news years ago. And then a few years later, he was adopted. But today, many years later, he's a chef in the Tampa area. Hey, Davion.
Hello, Marcy. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, this is so fun. I think our listeners are really going to enjoy just hearing from your heart and getting to know you. But I'm so delighted that you said yes. So I read the update about his career life in the news, and I had to contact him right away. So I tracked him on Instagram and asked if he'd be willing to talk about his story, because I think there's so much we get to see online, which is great and wonderful, but I was hoping we could unpack some more parts of who you are and where you've been. So that's how this episode came to be. So if we kind of rewind all of Davion's life, Davion told me that he was really born into the system and that you were one of the children that was lost, meaning like the foster care system. So can you tell us a little bit more about kind of your story and what that means to be in the system for so long?
So, again, at the time when I was in the system, again, my mom, she's very close to a lot of things. She worked for the DCF a lot. So she called me one of the lost children of the system. When I was in the system, my mom, she had to give me up at birth, so she wasn't able to, because she wasn't in that position to be able to take care of me at the time.
And this is birth mom. So first one is birth mom. Birth mom couldn't take care of you. And then just so listeners are following, DCF, because different states are different, Department of Children's Services, that could be renamed. It could be something else in your area, but that's where Davion's at. So back to you. Just wanted to give the listeners a little follow on.
Yes. So when I say the lost children, so what happened was when I was in the system and when I was in it, the DCF held all the contracts to the foster agency and the services. So the foster care agency that I was in at the time was called Family Continuity. And at the time that I was there, that's when I was a baby. I don't know the insides and outs of what happened with their processes, because Eckerd was when I was basically older, Eckerd is what finally took the contract of all the kids that were with, but with that is, I think I was up for adoption, but then something happened, and what happened, and the thing that happened was the contract got pulled. So then they switched to Safe Children's Coalition, and that's another agency that took over that contract. So within those switching the contracts, somehow, and a lot of my friends that I know today has also got lost within that switch because again, at the time when you switch contract, you have new kids that come in. So what happens to the old kids, they kind of like put them on the back burner and like try to focus on the new kids. instead of really focusing on the kids that they just took. So that's why I say I was one of the children who were lost in the system. And there's thousands of us that went through that at that
Mm.
time. I know a few of them. Again, I had contact with a few of them, but there's hundreds of thousands of us who got lost in that system. And some of us, most of them have aged out and they're either homeless, or they're doing what they can to get by. But yeah, that's the term where I get that, like, lost in the system.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I get that from. And again, with what also happens with Eckerd, since they had so many like children that came in from the old agency and then so many new children, it was nearly almost impossible for them to be able to find us families. And then we kind of get brushed off because everyone wants to adopt a baby. Everyone wants to adopt a child. Everyone wants to, have that. And I understand that, that's a good thing. You don't want them to go through, like, I don't want a child to go through what I had to go through in the system, but I also say that there's teens out here and it's like, it's nothing to, get off topic, but but you know what I mean? Like
you weren't prioritized. You were kind of at the back of the line.
Like for the children who are like, and it's not really, you can't really blame the parents. I blame the agencies who basically forget about the children, which is funny. Your podcast name, I forgot. Which is it hits it home, like they truly forgot about the kids in the system, and then it's sad because they just throw them away. Like I have so many friends who and it's horrible. They basically put all their stuff, and they were in group homes, and they put all their stuff in a trash bag and just said, "Okay, good luck," and they walked out the doors, and they would nothing.
Which is not at all what we want, right? Like we want kids to be able to grow up with the family and to have that support. And so just to rewind a little bit in terms of like the contracts changing, just for folks that might not be as familiar in the child welfare space. So my understanding is different like licensing agencies or social service agencies are given sort of like a contract that basically says you can have the authority over or care for X many kids that are in care, right? And then each of those kids, it sounds like you're kind of like in a bundle, almost like a financial advisor, like bundle stocks, like here's the portfolio of the kids you have. And it sounds like the portfolio, like the bundle of kids got moved from several different agencies. And so there wasn't really a single agency advocating for you. And there wasn't a single strategy that was really behind all of this. But yet across the multiple agencies you mentioned, as you kind of got bundled into the other kids they were supposed to be helping, you weren't necessarily put at the beginning of the line in any way. And you kept being at the end of the line. And meanwhile, you're aging, the other kids are aging. And so it's getting really complicated, and unfortunately is leading to some of the things that you're mentioning about kids aging out and not having any sort of, I'm going to use the word hope in that to think of a future that's brighter than where they are. That's really sad, Davion.
Yeah. And that's, I think you hit it on the nail too. That's exactly, I think, what happened. There's too many files going to too many hands, and then it's like they just kind of, well, now we have a whole new hundreds and thousands of kids that are coming in the system, so now we got to like really try to get them out, so then they just leave the other kids in the back. And when I was in the system, I remember my caseworker, her name was Denise. She had over 50 kids on her caseload. Over 50.
One person. That's a lot of kids.
One person. That's terrible. And then she only saw her once a month. And, I loved hanging out with her. I loved Denise. I loved, her being my caseworker. But I've actually she was my caseworker with Eckerd. I've had 3 different caseworkers before her.
Wow.
And I remember telling you that during that time, even with those agencies, the reason why I think my mom, like my biological mom, she actually was able to contact me, keep in check with me. But the reason why she lost that contact is because they switched so many agencies that she didn't even know who my caseworker was.
Wow.
And by the time, like, she couldn't even find it anymore. So I guess she was like, but she, and again, it's very sad because my mom cleaned herself after I was born. She was clean for 15 years. So and what the problem is that a lot of times I also know that these agencies get paid by the amount of children they have. And the problem is that no one would ever say it, but they make profit with that. So they would rather keep a kid for as long as they possibly can and then adopt them, but instead of just getting them out right away. My family lived 20 minutes from where I was. Actually, when my first foster home, my first foster home was in Clearwater. So my family could have been right next door, and DCF did nothing to find my family. And I can't blame DCF as a whole, but these agencies did absolutely nothing to find my
They
family.
had too many kids to care for and really couldn't be more intentional. Wow. So I feel like we need to I need special music here to be okay, so we probably should let listeners know who you are, because I'm assuming, okay, maybe they followed the story, but that's just probably my passion and excitement. So Davion, you were in care, you got put into care right at birth, right? There's some drug addiction there, right? And then maybe you can give us kind of the drive-by of you're in care, and then you first came into the news because you're how old? You're in front of this church. What's the story there?
So I remember, okay, so, through all the years I was in the system with the different group homes. And so at the time when the news hit, I was going to this group home called Camelot. What was it? Yeah. Was it Camelot?
It's okay. It was a group home.
Yeah. Was it? No, it was Carlton Manor. Yeah, that's what it was called. So I was in this group. I actually kind of got there 6 months ago. So I'm there, I'm 15 years old. I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, I need a family. It's about time. I have 3 years till I age out. So I went to a group home with my younger brother, and I remember we became brothers in that group home. We became very close. Where
actual biological brother, or just friend that you called a brother?
No. He was my friend, but he's but
yeah,
he's my brother. He's my family. And so I remember he actually left that group home, went to another one, and actually got adopted by my current mom now. And I remember he was in her office, and she was responsible for handling the adoptions and stuff.
Because your mom now, your adoptive mom, she actually works in the child welfare system, right?
Not right now. She doesn't.
But she used to. She did. Okay, so she was very familiar with the stuff. Okay.
Yeah, she used to work for Eckerd, and she was in charge of the adoptions. So what happens is when he went to the office, he saw a picture of me because she was trying to get me adopted. I was on Wednesday's Child. She's trying to really get me adopted.
Is Wednesday's Child the local version in Florida for highlighting kids that are waiting to be? I know every state's kind of okay, just so people can follow. I know my city has a place to call home. So that Davion's highlighted. He's one of those kids.
Yeah, and they have a lot of featured kids, but yeah, that's the ones they're trying to push to get adopted. And I was on Wednesday's Child almost all the time. So, and I remember he saw my picture. And he was like, "That's my brother. We need to see him. We need to talk to him." Da da da. It so happened that at the time, a woman named Lane DeGregory, I give her all the credit. The story for the Notice Order was amazing. If it wasn't for her, none of this would have happened. But at the time, she was with the Tampa Bay Times, and she was covering the segment of the foster children, children who can be spokespeople for the system. And she saw me. And my mom actually knew her a little bit because she does Wednesday Child as well. So they was doing a new thing. So she was like, David, I think David will be good for that. And my brother's like, well, I want to see him too. So it kind of all came together. And I remember I'm sitting in the group home. All of a sudden I get a phone call, or the manager comes in and like, hey, do you know this lady named Connie? I'm like, oh yeah. So I answered the phone, and she's like, oh, would you be cool to do an interview? Da da da. We want to meet, and actually Taylor wants to meet you. You remember Taylor? I was like, yeah, that's my brother. I remember, I think it was 7 or 6. I think we just got eating dinner, and I didn't expect it at all. But this is when I actually met my pops, Richard Prince, and I remember he's the only one who would really call me at that time because he had to work and he had classes, so he would call me just check in. So I was really surprised with it. So she calls me, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do it, And it's really be helping out kids and this and that, and it's also a good chance for you to get adopted. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm just thinking, I can help people, but I also need to get adopted because I'm 15, and I'm like, I'm gonna age out soon. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Yeah. So you know what? This is a great opportunity. I'm just gonna go get adopted. Whatever. What's the worst could happen? I did not know. So when they followed me more, I went to Tampa Bay Times. I took a lot of pictures with my mom, Connie, and I took pictures of my brother, but I took pictures with her. I was at Tampa Bay Times. They did an interview, the newspaper article. So then the last thing And that's what the people don't hear this out. They just see the church story, but there was a whole bunch of other things that went. Like
This is
she
why
had,
we're doing the interview, because there's
yeah,
so much more.
there's so much more that happened before that. Like I went to the Tampa Times office. I was talking to all the people. She introduced me. She did a little, interviews with me. She took pictures out there. So like, for Wednesday's time, it was a lot of things. And then she said, well, for the last thing, I want to write the story. Like for the last thing, would you like to speak in front of a church that will, hopefully like get awareness to like, people, and maybe you'll find a family there. So when I went to the church, it wasn't really the initial of like, oh, you're gonna talk, and it was because there could be potential families in the church during the service that may adopt me. So fast forward, after all that, we're at the church. I'm getting ready, and I'm like, so what is this? Like, am I like famous? And they're like, no, you're just doing it. I'm like, okay, so I'm not famous. I'm like, okay, so I'm just gonna.
You're just been following around by cameras everywhere you go.
Yeah, and then they're doing like makeup, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, I'm just gonna ask for a family. That's it. Like, I don't know where they do all this.
Yeah.
But, so when it comes, so I'm sitting there, and actually it's a regular service. We went through the whole service, started at 10, went through those services, talking, and at the time, actually, the pastor is my pastor, Richard's his uncle. So he approved all of it. He's like, yeah, you guys can come and do this story, da da da. So,
and when you say your pops, just so listeners can follow, is he more of like a mentor, or is he biological family to you?
Well, he's not biological family, but he's kind of like, he adopted me in a sense.
Yeah.
So, like,
he has that kind of love for you, but just so people can follow who he is. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
But so I'm sitting there, right? I'm reading my Bible, following with service. I'm sorry, the whole time I'm actually kind of nervous. I'm like,
and your hands are sweaty, and
it's like I was keeping myself calm because I was praying the whole time. I was like, God, just give me the words I need to say. And this is when I really found my faith, and really when I was really, just giving my life to God. I'm like, everything's gonna be, good. And I was just praying, just give me the words to say, give me the word to say. And I remember Richard, he's sitting there, he's like, man, you good, you got this, this is my family's church, you can be comfortable. They all got your back. And I remember him saying this to me and this giving me courage. I'm like, okay, he said, just be yourself, man. Like, just say what you have to say. And I'm like, well, how long do I have to talk? Like, I have to talk for 30 minutes, an hour. I'm like, how am I gonna do this?
You're 15 and you don't know these people. Like, that's nerve-wracking. Yeah.
And he was like, you don't even have to talk long. Just say what you have to say, and then you can walk off the podium. Like, this isn't like some point. Like, this is, you just ask for family, and you just, so you can literally say what you have to say and just walk off. And I was like, okay. So, and then, fast forward, it happens. And then I honestly was like, okay, her service, and like, because he said that during the service I was going to do it. But then I was like, they waited to the whole end. So I'm like, the whole time, crap, what's going to happen?
On the edge of your seat. When do I have to walk forward? Yeah.
They call me and they're like, all right, we also want to introduce a young. I was like, crap. My heart dropped to my stomach when he was like doing the introduction. I was like, oh, this is happening. So I'm like, all right, let's just keep a straight face. I actually almost stopped. Like, I thought I was gonna trip over my own feet. How nervous I was. I was so nervous. I was like concentrating on my footsteps walking, and I sat like towards the middle to the back. So it was a very long walk to the podium. So I'm like, oh my God, I should have sat in the front row. But so I'm walking to the podium and I get up there, and then, you saw what happened, and I just spoke.
Well, so for those that didn't see what happened, because I think if you Google Davion, you'll see there's like some clips where he's confidently at the pulpit, like you're just there. And so like this whole thing about all that's going on in your heart and your mind beforehand and how you're worried and tripping, like none of us saw any of that.
Nobody.
So if people are unfamiliar with that moment for you, can you kind of give them, so you're talking to the congregation, what do you say?
I just did what what God put in my heart. I said, hey, my name's Davion Only-Going, da da da. I live this. And I said, I just hope, one of you will take me as one of my families. I've been in this system for so long, and it's like, I just feel as though, it's time for me to have a family. I'm a good kid. I was really like, it's kind of like I was selling myself in a sense. And I'm like, I'm a good kid, I just want someone to love me. Is that third? And then they also said, like, what do you like say to me about the system and stuff like? And I said, and they're like, so how do you, and I was like, I love the way I'm in a good place, but I really want a family. And it's just kind of like, it just happened. Like, like some of the things that they said, I don't even remember saying it. Like, they said, oh, purple, white, black. I'm like, what? I said that?
And it's recorded, so you did say it. You just said
it. I didn't even know. And I was like, what? I said that? I was like, okay. I was like, I didn't know, but yeah, and like certain things, like, and then I was like, oh, and that whole moment for me was like euphoric. And then when it was over,
Mm.
I was like, so what's gonna happen? Like I expected like a family to run up to me and be like, "Oh, you're adopted," whatever. Da, da, da. That happened. That's like, and then when I went back to group home in a couple of weeks, because the story didn't blow up right away. It took some time. I was like, then I remember like a week or 2 weeks in, I'm like, well, what did I just do? Like, did I help? Like, like what's gonna happen? Like, because no one really got back to me about what happened. And then so a couple weeks after, and then someone called. I think it was Prince. I think it was Richard who called me. He's like, "Yo, are you watching the news?" And I was like, "No." And then one of the caseworkers from the group home ran in. She's like, "Did you see the news? Look at the news." And she turned it on, and it was the story. It was all over Tampa Times News. It was all over the news. And they're like, "What?" And I was like, so then everyone looked at me, and I was like, "Yo!" And then it happened, and then it just went viral. Everyone was calling. Boom, ABC wanted, Fox wanted interviews. ABC came
And
to
they wanted to help you, right? They wanted to help
yeah,
you find a family.
and that was the goal. They're like, "Yo, we never knew this was happening," and they came in, and man, they blew that story up so much that, again, like I said before, 10,000 people wanted to adopt, like 10, 10. But it's like, and I was so happy, and when I heard that, it was happy for me because I was like, not only does this give me opportunity to have a family, this is giving. I just spread awareness, and it was shocking because I was like, wait, so you're telling me that so many people don't know about children like this?
Mm-hmm.
They don't know that we're here. They don't know that we're waiting to be loved, to have a family. And I'm like, that is insanity. Like, and that's why my problem with now is like, you don't see much stories on the news. You don't see these agencies advertising adopting children. And I remember, and I'm like, wow, and it just brought my attention to a lot of things. And I remember at that moment, I was like, wow, that's amazing. So now I'm like, okay, I'm definitely getting adopted. If the 10 people want to adopt me, I'm definitely, it's going to happen. And so after that, I remember my caseworker saying, you also need to keep up appearances. You have to not have any episodes. You can't act out. You have to have, be on your best behavior.
And we're talking like behavior stuff. Like you
Mhm.
really have to have a clean record and look
Mhm.
the part so that it's not going to disrupt like any potential family from wanting to adopt you, right? Is what you're saying
Yeah.
there.
And
Yeah.
see, and I will touch base, and that's a problem for me. Because then families, well, I guess you can get into that, but at the time, yeah, I was so excited. And then again, they found that one family, the Beckett's, in Ohio. Again, they went through the adoption process. And it was a trial period. I went up there and I stayed there, and then I came back because things didn't work out.
How long did you stay there ish? A few months or?
About three, 4, maybe. No, it wasn't more than 6 months.
Okay, I know some of my listeners, because this actually just came up. I had a recent interview where I was asked, like, is there a return policy? Which I know is not the most sensitive language, but just to give listeners, because some people that are listening to us, Davion, they're people that are thinking in the future they'll go through this process. So if you're saying someone was selected, if you will, family was selected, you moved in with them, was this like a mutual decision? Was it just you weren't compatible? Like, can you give us any sort of insight on like why that didn't work out?
So with that family, they never really gave me a reason. They just said that we're just not able to do it. Yes, there is so you have like a 90-day period with a child. Like what you do is, so before the adoption is finalized, what happens, you do visits, you come visit the child can visit you. And for it to work out, that the child, and the caseworker has to find that it is of the best interest for you to be adopted there. Now, if it's like the parents have their rights, then the parents also have to be involved as well. But say if you're like, if you're in the system, then your parents, they terminate their rights. They have no rights to you. Mm-hmm. So it's like they don't really, their input doesn't matter where you get adopted.
So it's really the future family and you and the caseworker, you all kind of agree. And just so people can follow too, some states are on a 3-month plan like that. Other states, I'm in Missouri, we're on a 6-month plan. So that number might vary a little bit in terms of how much decision time. But thank you for letting us know a little bit about that. So it didn't work out. You've already, there's so much, Davion, like you've already gone through so much in your childhood, and yet to be in the light and to have hope, and then now you're back. So we're back in Tampa. Well, now what happens?
So when I came back after this, it didn't work out. They put me in this home. So they put me in a home because what happens, and actually I was in Pinellas County, which is St. Petersburg, but they moved me to Tampa, which disconnected me to any of the news because the Lane DeGregory, her office was in the St. Petersburg Times, Tampa Bay Times division. So she was in St. Pete downtown. It's funny, I drive by that place all the time and it's to go to work. But yeah, she was there. So they wanted to keep me far away from any news. Wow, this lady named Loretta Shirley, like you can look her up. She worked for Eckerd. What happened was they wanted to cover up that they did not really do the process right. Actually, in Florida, there's a 6-month process that you do. It takes about 6 months for you to even go. They rushed that within 3, meaning they were so like adamant on getting, because then at that time the news was asking, why hasn't Davion got adopted? Why is he still in foster care? Why is he? Because I had more interviews, and they're like, well, why are you still in it? Like they're asking, they're on
the interviews is your interviews are with the news or your interviews with prospective families? Who are the interviews?
news.
Okay,
the news
okay.
that they wanted to do more interviews, and they asked me, have you
Mhm.
been adopted yet? I'm like, no, I haven't. They haven't found anybody, let alone
That's
10,000.
not an uplifting story, Davion.
Yeah,
And it's not good for you. Like
10,000.
emotionally, that's a lot for you to have to juggle.
Yeah, and 10,000 people was calling. And then like, what? So the news was getting on them. They were like, oh, Eckerd's not. So when they rushed that, so when I came back, they wanted to keep me so far away from the news that I couldn't report anything of what happened because it would make them look so bad. And I sat there for about a year. I was in Tampa.
So now
I
you're
didn't
16.
I didn't have a phone. The
Wow.
family, I think Eckerd told the family to take my phone. So they didn't give me a phone. I went to Denise and I was like, Denise, I want a phone. I'm 16. I should have a phone. I should be able to contact people. And she did it. She got me a phone with my trust fund, because every kid has a trust fund. She was able to pay for the bill with that. And I bought the phone. So that's when I called, Prince, and I called, Connie to help me, my mom. I called her to, to see what was going on. They didn't even know that I came back. They didn't know I was home. And they were like, what happened? I thought you were still in New York. I was like, no, in Ohio. I was like, no, I came back. Like it didn't work out. The whole time, that lady Loretta, Shirley Loretta, she went to the news and basically told a lie. She broke the HIPAA law and gave up private information. And she basically told them that, oh, it was my fault that didn't work out and this doesn't happen. I still don't know what she told the media. I still don't know what the media, what they heard. All I know is that everything she said was completely false, and that I heard that the media really didn't listen to her because they wanted to talk to me. They wanted to know what happened with me. But she denies it. Oh, well, Davion's not able to talk anymore and all this stuff. Mind you, also they stole. So I remember those families. They donated a lot of money to me to help me in the cause, give me a family. Every board member and executive board member, the guy who was the CEO, I forgot his name. I could probably give it to you in the future if you ever need it. I noticed that every executive member, one, got a bonus. And it so happened when people were donating, they got a big bonus. And I saw none of that money.
Oh no. So listeners are thinking, okay, Davion, this is sad. Like you got the limelight. They had lots of interest. You're moving, now you're back. But Marcy said you were adopted. So now they're like, Davion, tell us the end of the story. We got to know, like, how did you get adopted? Because somehow it worked out for you.
So when I came back and I got my phone, I was able to contact. That's when I called. So at that time, they were like, okay, well, my aunt, this is when I met my biological family. My aunt, she was like, I will adopt you. But first, my cousin, Maurice, he said he was going to adopt me, but then he, stuff happened with his personal life and he couldn't do it. And I was staying with my cousin. I was, they were trying to reconnect me with my family, basically. But at the time, though, my mom had passed away. So and they didn't know who my father was. So I didn't have an actual biological parent that they could just, sign, like have them come. And so they tried to give me a doctor, Maurice, but he couldn't do it. And then they tried to give me a doctor, my aunt. But then at the time, I was like, I know Con, and I remember my brother Taylor. And I was like, I just want to be with Taylor. Like, he's my family, and I want to be with him. I want to spend, time with him, and I want him to be my brother. So I remember I called Connie, and she basically, her dad was dying when I called her. He was in the hospital. He had lung cancer. And when I asked her to adopt me, he was passing away. I asked her to adopt me, and that's how it happened. And she said yes, because she felt that her dad just wanted her to do it. And she even talked to him about it. She was talking to him about it. And he was, he was, he approved, and he was, and he passed away weeks after that, which sucked because I never got to meet him.
But
When she
yet
like,
he played such an important role in
yeah,
your story. Wow.
he knew like someone was bothering her, and he was like, whatever you think you need to do, didn't do it. And he even told us, he's like, Dad, what should I do? And he was like, I think there's something that you need to do. I think God is telling you to do this. And then he passed away, which it hurt because I really wanted to meet him because he
Hmm.
sounded like a really good man. And she's like, he would have loved you. And I know, and but so at first she lost a family member, but gained one at the same time. And I feel like God set that up. He took, I feel like God was like, I'm gonna take your father home, but I'm also going to give you another family member to, fill,
Wow.
to help you out. And that's
Davion,
how
that's a
it was.
roller coaster. Like
Yeah.
that's a stomach of a story, and you've lived through that.
It's,
Whoa. Whoa. Okay, so I'm
that's
going to go
good.
backwards. Yeah, you were talking a little bit about anger, so I wonder if we can touch on this, and then I want to talk to you about your career as a chef. So, um, you've talked a little bit here, and when we were prepping, you talked about having to overcome addressing your own anger. Which, if anyone Googles anything about foster care adoption, like you're going to find this everywhere. Like there's behavioral things because of trauma and neglect and etc. So, like this is a very known common thing. But I'm wondering if Davion, can you share about your own anger journey and what led you to really come to terms that like, hey, I'm going to change? Because there's a huge, beautiful story here.
So again, my anger started when I was a kid. Again, I remember telling you, again, it really started when I left that first foster home. Because when I was born into one foster home, and when I, as a baby, when you could first see, that's who I saw. So I truly believe she was my mom. I truly believe, all
You had
that.
attached with her, yeah.
Yeah, as a baby. And so, but with that, um, after I left that home, and they bounced me around to at least 30 homes to like stay, for respite and
That's a
just to
big
stay for the
number.
weekend. Yeah, it's actually over 30, but at that time it was like about 30 homes. I've lost count. I don't even, but I know it's over 30. And oh, excuse me. But so after that, I was staying at this one home, and I just got tired of saying, having to pick up, having to pack up my things and move, and not really having a place that I could just stay and call home. And remember, I asked her, "Can I just stay here? Why can't I just stay here?" And she was like, "You can't." And I was like, "Well, why? Like, what did I do wrong?" And she's like, "No, it's not really you." And I was like, "So what?" She's like, I can't have you here. Like, I already have a child, and I just don't want another one." At that point, that's when my heart I feel I've been in a lot of relationships. I've had different, but I feel like that was when I truly had my first heartbreak. And it hurt.
I
I didn't know.
felt that. Like to hear those words is hard to
And
digest.
I remember that night, I didn't sleep. I stayed up. I didn't sleep. I was crying. I didn't know why. And when they came and got me, she goes, "Well, bye." And she wanted to give me a hug. And I didn't say anything to her. Like I cold shouldered walked out. And I remember after that, I was just so angry. And I remember I would like go and be like, why can't I have a home? I would start acting up in the little place they had us stay. I would act up. I would like do things. And I was like, man, because at the point, I just didn't care anymore. Like, I was like, wow. So it's like, what, I don't deserve to have a home. So I was like, okay, well, whatever. So at that point, since I was like 8, 7, I was angry. And then they found me a home and I was able to stay there. But I never really truly trusted those foster parents. I never trusted like they actually wanted me to stay there for a long time. And I never showed, like, I never was like able to open up. I was never able to basically accept their love because I thought it was fake. I didn't believe that they truly wanted the best for me. And it was all because of that one lady. I never know her name, but and I don't blame her because she did what she had to do at the time. And I don't think she knew this would have been the ripple effect. But yeah, it kind of hurt. And I was so
It
angry.
really
I
hurt,
was so
yeah.
angry. And I didn't really like, pay attention to all the foster homes that really truly loved me and wanted the best for me. But at the time, like I said, to me, in my brain, it was me against the world. I had to survive. I had to take care of myself. And it proved my point, because like what I would do is I would act up on purpose just to see if you actually cared enough to actually, want me to stay here. Most of my homes, it didn't last for about, it was a year, and that was it. And I moved on,
You're like, you knew the rhythm. You knew, oh man.
But even though most of the families, they did care, they did want me there, especially the lady that I went to after that, her name was Sandra John. She really loved me. She really thought of me as her own child. And I gave her so much crap. And I feel bad, because she was the first one to actually show me love and like try to, want to be a mother with me. And I remember I would do things, I would get bank racked in, and she's like, I just can't do it anymore. Like I've tried, and it's like, and I was there for 2 years, and it hurt. And I cried when I left her home, and I was like, wow, I really messed that up. And then they put me in a group home, Tampa Academy, and I was there for like 2 years. And and I was still angry, because I was like, man, I don't even want to be here. But then it was different, because I was around the kids that were the same as me, angry, didn't have anybody, mad. Some of those kids actually had parents, though. Some of them did, and their parents were like, I just want to send you off because I can't deal with you. Yeah, I've seen a lot. I've met a lot of kids in the foster care system that actually had parents in group homes, but their parents they were just so bad that they just couldn't deal with them, so they just sent them off to like a academy or a boarding school to, if you want to act bad, then let them people take care of you. It's like I've seen so much, and I remember again, and what really kept my anger going was the fact that every time my caseworker or my guardian litem would come, they'd be like, Alex, so do you have a family for me? And they're like, no, we didn't find an adoption family for you yet. And they're like, well, you have to be good. You have to be good. You have to, not act up. So I would do these things, and I would be good for like 6 months, years. And I'd be like, so why don't I have a family? And they're like, oh, well, we recently I can't find anybody. And that's when I'll just get angry again. I'm like, so then what is the point of me being, not expressing how I feel? What's the point in me being good? Like, what's the, like, why? So you can do less paperwork, so you don't have to, come every time. So I was like, man, forget it. And that's when I just kept being, acting out, kept doing all these things. And yeah, I was like, forget it. Like, I don't, I'm not gonna sit here. But yeah, that was the main source.
One day something changed for you though, because I feel like for those of us that are listening to this as families that have adopted or thinking about it, I think there's a huge part, at least for me, my heart is like, Davion, that super sucks, because you're being told kind of stay within the lines, like behave, but yet on the inside, there's so much that you need therapy and counseling and help and support and all the things there. And so I'm just like speechless at all of this happening to you. But then you were telling me before we recorded that there's this moment where you were like, I'm done being angry. Can you tell us about that?
Now, and during those times, they do assign you with therapy, because it's just, when you have trauma like that. I also been abused in every way in the system. So I had a therapist. But after a time, the therapy just started like, I'm like, do you even like, what am I telling you these things for? Like, what am I talking to you for? One time I was at a group home and I told a therapist something, and she had me bankrupted. So I never told her anything again. And I was like, I'm never going to open up to you again. But then I realized at the time, she's like, I have to take these precautions, because you can't say these things to me. And what if it happens and it's on me? And she explained it to me. And she was like, listen, I'm learning to listen to you, but you can't tell me certain things. If you tell me certain things, I have to report it and I have to act on it.
Yeah, because like mandated. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, because if you tell me these things, like at one time I was like, when I told her, I was like, I'm depressed. I want to kill myself.
Mm-hmm.
She had me bankrupt on the spot, and I was like, well, what the heck? And she like, I was like, you betrayed me. She's like, no, I didn't. I did my job. Like, yes, I want to listen to you. Yes, I care. But it's like, because I care, I can't allow you to say that and then go back in there. Because what if you do kill yourself? Then that'll be on me. And she's like, not even I will lose my job, but that'll be on my conscience. Like, I would have to think that I could have stopped you from doing that, and you went and did it.
That would be the word you're using there? What kind of corrected word are you saying?
Bankrupt.
What does that mean?
So when you get basically, like the psych wards, when you like say something, they take people who are harmful to themselves, and basically that, yeah.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
So yeah, so with that, and so I've had therapy and stuff, but again, none of it. And then I think it was at one point someone was it was actually when I went to the Beckett's is when I said I would stop being angry. I remember and that's why I took a lot. That's why like that to me, that adoption wasn't a failure. To me, it was God putting me in a situation to help become a better me and to just, to help me heal. Because the mom and the dad, the Beckers, they did love me. They did want me there. I believe that there was a lot of personal things on their side, that kind of affected them being able to take care of a kid who has so much trauma. And also they had other children. They had 3 other kids, so it's like they couldn't so so with that being said, but their dad, he told me something. He was like, listen, Davion, I understand you're angry. And he was a pastor as well. I got baptized with him. I got saved again. And he's like, listen, man, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, honestly, I know your story. I've read your story, dude. And he's like, listen, there's so many people out there that has gone through so much more. There's people starving. There's people who don't have a home. They don't have a roof. You have shelter. And he's like, there's kids who eat mud for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And he's like, you are in a good position. He said, I understand you're angry. I understand that, you feel like you've been betrayed. He said, but God is with you. He put you through this for a reason. You're going to be something. He's like, I don't know what it is, but you're going to be great. God is setting you up for something. My pops tells me this all the time too. But he told me, and I remember he told me, he's like, listen, but one thing I want you to do, you can be angry. You have the right to be angry. You have the right to be mad. But he said that you cannot live in that anger. He said, remember the past, but you have to live in the present and the future. You have to think about the future. You have to think about what do you want to be years from now. He said you have to live in the present and future. He said people who live in the past will never get out of that past. They will never heal. They will never be able to move past it. And those words stuck with me. He's like, listen, you can be mad, but you cannot. He said, you have to channel that anger into something positive. You got to think of it. And he said, you don't think of your past and what you've been through as a bad thing. He said, think of it as you went through this because God made you stronger. He said, you're one of the strongest kids I ever met. And that's because you went through all this stuff and you're still here and you're still able to smile. He said, that is amazing. I've never met a kid like you. Even out all my years as a pastor, I've never met a kid like you.
Wow.
And he was like, I'm lucky that I'm able to adopt you. And we had a hard time. And I actually cried. Like I remember I hugged him and I was crying. And he cried too. And that was the moment where I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna be angry anymore. He's like, and he told me also, what you being angry, you're taking it on people who want to love you. He's like, how do you want love? And you're not. And from that on, I was like, I'm not gonna be angry. I'm gonna take life as it comes, and I'm gonna prepare for the future. I'm not gonna live in my past. And at that point on, I said, I'm gonna use my past as a fuel to help as much as I can, like I'm doing now. I'm gonna do it to help as much as I can. And I'm going to use that as something to remind me that I came so far.
Yeah.
And I'm here. Even to this day, I have friends tell me, Davion, you made it. You did. I'm like, I didn't make it, bro. I'm not a millionaire yet. I'm not starving with hunger by buying everyone food. But he's like, dude, you went through a lot, bro. And like, you're here. You have a college degree.
You overcame. Yeah.
But in my mind, it's like my mission for God isn't done yet.
Of course, yeah.
But
where you are on that journey is, people are trying to help you be like, Davion, look backwards just for a second, see all the stuff there. So swiveling a little bit in gear. So one of the things you are doing now, as people heard the introduction, is you're a chef. So some of us might be wondering, what kind of foods do you prepare and what led you into that as a career path?
So a lot of when I first started, I actually started cooking when I was 7 with the first foster mom. I made her breakfast. I love making breakfast food. That's my kryptonite.
Davion, you and me, hot breakfast for the win.
Yeah, I love breakfast. I don't know why people don't eat breakfast. That is like the best. I can't eat breakfast because I gotta work. But if I could eat breakfast every day, oh my God.
You can eat brunch at any meal. Like, don't let it stop you.
I know, but I like making omelets. I love that. So it's like,
yeah.
But so as a chef, I'm technically trained in classical French cuisines. So I can make a lot of the French. I know most of all French cooking techniques. I know all that. If you think about it, cooking is kind of the techniques you use. The French kind of like help that. It's the motherland of cooking. So I'm trained in classical French, but I know Asian recipes. I know Mediterranean recipes, the whole Mediterranean region. I learned all of American cuisines. Well, not all of them. This, the school version. There's still so
Sure.
many street foods that you don't know. But I'm trained in the basic American foods. I'm trained. What else?
How about some pastry? You got any like baking skills in there too?
I do, but I only took a baking class for 3 weeks. So a lot of it, and honestly, I like baking was pretty interesting. The method of you do things, and and then the end product is like, I'm like, how do you like, this is like dough, and then they turn into something this good, So I
Yeah.
was like, okay. So I have a lot of friends that are bakers that like, one of my friends, he's a culinary science major, and he's in baking and pastry. He makes his own ice cream and cheesecake and stuff. So
You're making us all hungry.
I try to like tell him, hey bro, I'm gonna come steal your recipes, man. He's like, oh, yeah, all right, bro. And I'm like, but so I've done a little baking. I know how to bake, like, I can bake. I know simple things to bake. I learned a couple things how to make things from scratch. I have to go get those recipes. Like, I know I learned how to make blueberry muffins from scratch. I learned how to make focaccia bread from scratch. I learned how to make sourdough. I learned how to make challah bread from scratch. I learned how to make cookies from scratch. I learned how to make custards, like, creme brulee. I learned how to make all these things from scratch. Yes, I forgot them all because I'm a culinary major and I only did it for 3 weeks. But
if you just have the recipe, I'm
yeah.
sure you can do that. But you told me too that so in your learning of like having a passion to make food, you also have kind of become really passionate about improving the nutrition side inside of group homes.
Yes.
And for those of us that have no experience in that space that are going, I don't understand why this is a big deal. I worked in a homeless shelter for a while, so I'm like very much like I understand what you're saying because we had a food pantry. Can you shed some light on what you've seen so people can know what the problem is and then what you think the solution is?
So the problem is that I believe that the funding for these facilities are not going to these facilities for the right reasons. They're using the money for other things that are irrelevant for taking care of children. When I was in the group homes, okay, the only group home that actually had staff cook was a group home. It was Carlton Manor, and that's because it was a basically a regular level group home. As you get into like because I was in a lockdown facility, and I remember I was at Manatee Palms and I was at Tampa Academy. I have never before thought what they served us was basically sunny side up eggs that had been dehydrated and flash frozen and cooked, and they just reheated in the microwave. That's what and it was
This doesn't sound tasty.
We had ham that was frozen ham, flash bread already pre-cooked. That's what we ate every day. Now, as a 9-year-old kid, as a chef now, that is blasphemy. Like if anyone ever, I wish someone would put that in my face and tell me to eat it. I would look at them like they're not even from this world.
You're like, nutritionally, what are we thinking? But at the same time, you're
absolutely no nutrition in any of those foods.
Yeah.
Why do you think these kids are getting bigger? And there's absolutely no nutrition in the foods that they get at these lockdown facilities in these group homes. And my goal is I want to get to a point where in my career that I'm a well-known chef and I want to talk to the systems about upgrading the foods. I want to teach these group home staff to know how to cook for these kids. They have enough money, they get funded enough to be able to buy groceries. Groceries cost you have enough food and enough food prep, and I'm well versed in food cost. I can cost it out for you. Okay? There's absolutely no reason why you should not be meal prepping for these children and having nutritional food for these kids.
We can all feel your passion. This is so good. I think you're going to get someone listening to this say, Marcy, I'm going to reach out to Davion. I want to pilot what he's talking about. I know of a facility.
Let's do it. I'm down. Yeah. I have knowledge here. I can cost it out. I can tell you where, I can tell you what recipes will be the less expensive to make that is highly nutritious. Like there's so many ways to make things. And again, the only group home was Carlton Manor, and that's because it was a regular house. And the staff actually had home cooking. I remember this guy, he would come and he'll cook for us every Sunday. We would have fish and grits. I'm like, well, this is good food. But it's not fair. And what my problem is that it should not be that, oh, since you're in a lockdown facility, you get the least of the least. That food nutrition should be there for every group home. Every group home.
Especially because it plays into like, how well am I sleeping? What are my behavior reactions? What's my blood sugar level? All that stuff can really play with stability of person, right?
And I'm so big on this because I was a diabetic. I was a type 2 diabetic. I almost hit type 1 because I was so overweight that my liver and my pancreas was shutting down. I had to take insulin. I was that overweight. When I started cooking and I went to school, I changed my diet. I learned what the right nutrition was, what you should put in your body, how much you should put, what's the right amount, what type of fat acids are in it, what type of lipid acids, what kind of, what type of proteins. And I learned all these things, and then I started working out. I started working out every day. I know that you need to I work out. When I work out, see, people say, oh, you work out an hour. Man, an hour goes by so fast. I work out. If I'm in the gym, I work out for at least an hour and a half, 2 hours. So it's like, you need to, I learned you need to work, and it's what you put in your body and how much. And, and I've also learned, like, you do not need to buy Wagyu beef steak to have good nutrition. You can go to freaking Publix, get a nice steak. It'll taste good. Well, again, I'm trained to make it taste good, but it will taste just as good as if you had a Wagyu beef steak, and it's very nice. Like, you could take chicken. There's so many things you can do with chicken. Again, if you want to, I have some pictures that I can show you.
Yeah, so your Instagram is peppered with pictures. Do you have recipes on there too for people that are like, Davion, you're making me hungry, teach me? Do you have the recipes online too?
Because again, I'm trying to get people, I'm trying to become a private chef.
Okay. So if you're looking to hire.
Yeah, I'm trying to, hire me and I'll teach you,
Okay. But you guys heard him, Davion. You can season anything and it can taste so much better.
Yeah, but it's like, also it's just, again, it's just, it doesn't take time. And I know a lot of people, like, group homes, like, oh, it takes time. It's just, man, every Sunday, I was hungry. Man, when he was cooking the food, I forgot his name. I really need to go back and get his name. But when he was cooking, everyone was waiting. They were salivating. We were ready.
The food was
good.
When
we ate, it was good. It was really good. And, but he took the time to do it. And it didn't take him long. It took him like 30 minutes to cook. And he's cooking for like 12 boys. It took him like 30 minutes to an hour.
The time really isn't the excuse. There's something else there.
It's not. And it's like, it's, again, for me, I feel like staff don't get paid enough, so they don't care enough, and two, it's like, they don't have the resources. They don't. And it's like, and with me, it's like, that's why I was like, but also, again, what I also know the problem was, there's a lot of kids who age out of foster care who don't know how to take care of themselves. So instead of them cooking a meal, going to Publix, I can make a nice 5-course meal and spend $40. That's how much you will order to just get 2 things off of DoorDash or Uber Eats. So all these kids who age out, who don't know how to cook, who's never been around, they're going to just go buy out food, and they're spending so much money.
Yeah.
You can spend $40 and you can eat for 3 to 4 days. And it's like, it's things like that. And it's like, that's why it's like, they don't, and it's like, I understand it's an industry, but it's like, these systems, they need to have better connections with these ingredient places, because you can get fresh produce, but especially if you know the right person. And I plan, like, that's what I want. That's my ultimate end goal. Once I'm towards the rearing the end of my career, and I've built, everything that I wanted for my career, I plan on going and sitting down, and I'm gonna talk to these state officials and be like, listen, this has to change. You spending all this money on anti-missile crap, and you got these kids, becoming obese and not having the right nutritional facts.
We all know what we're going to see you do. I mean, we're all going to see you in the news, and we know exactly what it's going to be about now. So we're
100%.
We're looking forward to that chapter. So as we wrap, I'm wondering, well, first, this has been so just insightful on so many levels. I think for those of us that might not be as familiar with what does it mean to grow up in the system and to be a teenager that's hoping and longing to be adopted, and what was the underlying story there, you've shared so much of your own personal experience. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for teaching us. Thank you for, on behalf of children that are still waiting. And just like you did those days that you've been interviewed and done stuff. I mean, you've educated people about a population of kids that are just hoping and wanting to be adopted. And yet so many of us are unaware. And so I wanted to take a moment to thank you. Thank you for using your voice for waiting children. That's such a gift, because you've firsthand gone through this, and you could be mad and you could turn your back on it, Davion, and you've not. You've seen the opportunity, and I think so many of us that are listening heard how you saw the good and some of the challenges that you faced, and I think that's such a gift. So I wanted to thank you so much for that. And I'm hoping as we close, I have two kind of audiences I'd like you to address as we wrap. So one, so knowing what you know now, I'm curious what you would say to adults who are on the fence about adopting a waiting child or sibling group, whether that's a teenager or someone younger, even though they've already seen TV, they've already seen social media. What is your message to them?
So again, it's a process. It's not something, that's going to be easy. Even, children, even if you adopt a kid as a child, you're going to have to tell them that they're adopted. You're going to have to, go through that, and they're going to want to see their parents. They're going to want to do it. What my advice for parents, okay, is it's going to be a roller coaster. No child that, that you get in the system is going to be 100% perfect. Okay. Even, it's never going to be that. So if you truly love that child, especially if you adopt a teenager, someone who's 15, my age, they're not looking for someone to raise them. They are looking, but they're looking for someone to guide them. They're looking for someone to support them. They're looking for someone to, because most likely those kids are already focused. They know what they want to do in life. All they're asking for someone to just support that and just give them a safe place so they can be themselves. When I came out, my mom, I didn't even go to high school because I moved for so many high school. I dropped out. I was like, I don't want to do this. And the whole summer, I sat in my room, and just did nothing but play video games. And she accepted it. She was like, I'm gonna let you do it. I told her, because I sat and I told her, like, I can't do this. My anxiety is too much. And she listened, and she allowed me to do it. Fast forward, I graduated from high school, graduated from another college, and now I have a bachelor's degree, 2 college degrees,
Amazing,
and a diploma, all because she just listened to me and let me do what I had to do, and let me. Because again, someone at my age coming out, there's so many abuse that I've been through, that I have so much trauma, that it's like, it's just no way. But if you listen, you're just there, and you're like there for them, that goes so long. And I'm telling you, they're going to test you. Every kid's tests are different. My tests were different. My test was like flip her couch and, scream. And she still loved me regardless. So it's like, if you still love them and you tell them, listen, just tell me what you need and I'm here for you. Yes, it may take a year or 2, but I can guarantee you, once that child believes, because you gotta understand, that child, the whole time, they believe that no one cares about them. And they've been shown that. They don't trust people. Their trust issues are through the roof. They don't trust anybody. So you have to break down those walls slowly. But guess what? Once you get those walls down and they finally trust you, that child is going to be loyal and love you for the rest of your life. That child, even though me and mama, we fight all the time, but I still, in my mind, when she's old and can't, move anymore, guess who's going to be here to take care of her? Me. Real life, if all my other siblings don't, I will still be here. I will make sure. I'm going to make sure I have enough. If she wants a nanny, I'm going to make sure she has a nanny that I can pay for. And I'll pay
You're going to make sure she eats well. Like, you're going to make sure
yes.
she has the best.
I'm going to make sure she, that's because she showed me the loyalty. She showed me that she loved me and that she earned my trust. So I'm going to, no matter what, to the day I die, until she passed away, she's going to have care. I will not see her in a nursing home. She will be home in her house. She will have good meals every single day, and I will make sure she gets that. And that's because to me, it's not as much of a debt. It's more of like, well, I would say it's
gratitude, maybe, or
gratitude. For me, it's the least I can do for someone who gave me a safe home and allowed me to get through all my stuff and come out the end of it a way better man than when I came in. And that's what most kids who are teenagers looking for. She has friends who has done the same thing, and all of her sons are very successful men. And she adopted them as like 16, 17, and they're all very successful. That's why it's like, don't be scared to adopt. My message is, don't be scared and don't be limited to just, I'm just going to adopt a child or baby. Because guess what? That baby's going to take so much money longer for them to grow up and then, and be like that. Whereas you have someone, like, adopt a baby. Don't let them go through that. But also don't be closed-minded. Be open-minded to maybe a 14, 15-year-old. And just to have someone that, I just want someone, I just want to support someone, or just be a mentor, guide that person, give them somewhere that they can land. You know what I'm saying? Give them where they can, their feet can touch down, so they're not drowning. Give them a solid surface to stay afloat, and they're gonna pay you back that 10 times fold. So if you're going to adopt, don't be closed-minded and just think of all this possibility. Also, I will say that you could, and I want your viewers to know, they know you can, shout out my Instagram and stuff. If they ever have problems or any questions, I am 100% open to give them advice and to talk to them.
You're here to mentor.
Yeah, and I even had, so one of my mom's friends, she has a daughter, so she's my age, and she's like dropped out of college. She wants me to talk to her. And I told her, listen, you have my Instagram, you have my contact. Call me whenever you want me to talk to her, and I'll do it. Because she's lost right now. She's like, I don't know what I want to do. And she adopted her. She dropped out because she just. I'm like, well, at that point, I was lost too. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but guess what? Now I'm here because my mom gave me time to figure it out, and that's all it is. So my advice is just, when you adopt, just know there's a lot of problems that are coming with these kids, but patience, like I said, patience is a virtue. And I'm telling you right now, all you need is patience. And you will not regret the decision of adopting that child, because that child's going to check on you every day. That child's going to do everything they can to make sure you're okay, because you show them loyalty, so they're going to show you that loyalty too. Forever.
So good, Davion. And it's so good, because for listeners who may not be aware, that the biggest need, so in foster care, there's not many babies. I had someone, as soon as I published my first book, The Forgotten Adoption Option, they wrote and they were like, she didn't tell you how to adopt a baby. And I was like, right, because in the system before age 2 is like nearly impossible to find a child, but the biggest needs are kids ages 8 and up, primarily teenagers and sibling groups. And so, Davion, I find it so inspiring, because it's not like, oh, we hope these kids do well. Like, you've lived it, and you're now pouring into those that are trying to do that. So I love your openness for people to reach out with support and asking for help. So the final question for you, probably my favorite question to ask you. There are kids, 113,000 in the United States right now, who are Davion a few years ago. They're in the system. They're stuck in the system. They're waiting to be adopted. Maybe they've been on a Wednesday's Child program. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they're feeling forgotten, whatever it is. And I know many of them are minors, right? And so they can't speak up for themselves publicly and really interact with us, Davion. But I know they can listen to us. And I wonder, what would your message, what advice, what encouragement do you have for them as they continue to wait?
If you are fearing that you're going to age out, reach out to someone and just get, like, any programs have said, if you're at my age when I was, what helped me a lot at 13, 14, it was Richard. He became my mentor. A lot of times I would give these messages to kids. A lot of times they put people in your life. Like, I had another guardian like him, and I never appreciated him until I got adopted and stuff, and I lost contact with him. Your guardian litem is your best friend. Form a relationship with them. Mr. Nichols is who introduced me to Richard. If it wasn't for my guardian litem, it was a guardian litem mentorship program. If he never introduced him, then I wouldn't be the man I am today. I wouldn't have the knowledge and the maturity that I have today. Even with the Beckett's, I wouldn't have had as much clarity as I had today. Take every program in there as possible. And as a child, if you are rearing 15, you're rearing that you're going to age out, go look at cooking lessons. Go open a bank account for yourself. Again, reach out to me and I'll help you out with how to open a bank account, how to fill out a job application. Ask these things, because but still hope that you're going to have a family. Still hope that you're going to, have someone there forever. But I will also say, do not close anyone off. Don't, when someone comes to you like, hey, I want to help you out, be cautious, because, people are crazy, but do not turn down the offer. Do not, just be in your own head and be angry. You have to let that anger go. You have to let it go. You cannot live like I said, you cannot live in your past. You have to live in the present and the future. You have to plan for your future, and you have to live in the present. You cannot let what happened to you. Trust me, I've been through, as much, if not more. You have to get over it. Not get over it, but you have to not let it affect you. You have to either talk about it, but talk about someone you trust. Hell, I talk to myself all the time. I vent to myself all the time, because a lot of stuff I say is crazy. But you have to do that also, but you cannot give up, and you have to live in the present, and you have to keep You have to keep focused on what you need to do next. You can't let your past fuel you to do better. Let the fact that you didn't have anyone fuel you to be a better parent when you have children, to want to have the best for your children, and to want everything that you feel like you deserve to have. And you got to keep your head up, because, because if you have the faith, it's going to happen for you. It's going to happen. Something good's going to happen. You just got to stay positive and stay putting good karma in the world. That's what I did. When I was 15, I started putting good karma in the world. And guess what? It came back to me. You cannot stay angry. You cannot let your past and what you're going through now cloud your judgment and affect you. You have to see past it and be like, okay, this is what's going through now, but what can I do to make sure that I'm going to be good and everyone I care about is going to be good as well. And that's the one thing I really wish I could just tell a lot of people, you have to get through it. You have to not think about it. That's the only way I was able to get through it, is I didn't wallow in my past. I didn't feel sorry for myself. And that's what I guess I'm trying to say. Don't feel sorry for yourself. Use it to be like, hey, all right, this happened. This is what I'm going to do now. This happened. Like I said, I'm using, the story that happened not to come on here and complain, and I'm here to educate. I'm here to help. Reach out to people who are like me. There's so many kids in foster care who are like me, who are mentors, who are very successful. Reach out to them. Social media, we are in a day and age of social media. You can find anybody. As long as you have a cell phone, you can find anybody. Also, for these kids, harass your caseworker for a cell phone. You should not be 16 and not have a cell phone. You should be 16 and networking, especially if you're in a system. You have a trust fund. Use that trust fund. A phone bill, you get, I think they put $50 into your account every month for your trust fund. Use that to pay your cell phone bill. Get you a way you can contact the outside world. I also want to change those laws too within the systems, that group homes, that kids aren't allowed to have cell phones. I want to change that, because that is not fair. Because how are kids supposed to connect and network and find people, if they can't even communicate with the outside world? They're not.
And build a support system. Yeah.
Foster children are not prisoners. Okay. And that's how I felt when I was in lockdown facilities and when I was in group homes. I felt like a prisoner. It's like I didn't have basic human rights. That's a huge issue that we could talk about another time. But my message is, my message for these kids is, don't give up and just do everything you can to put yourself in the best situation, and just use your past to fuel you. But you have to start setting up things now. You have to do it. But also listen to the people. If you truly believe that this person cares about you, like Mr. Nichols, he saw me, I think it was twice a month. And I never knew what his job was, which is why I didn't know he was technically my guardian. Like, he was actually my parent. When he saw Denise, she was my caseworker, but he was technically in the court's eyes my parent. And I didn't know that. I didn't know the power he held. So I was like, dang. And it's like, I didn't know that he was like guardian ad litem. Get close to your guardian ad litem and actually express them and try to, and trust that they have your best interest in mind, and just tell them what you're going through. He helped me out so many times. He connected me with my pops today, and he's still my pops. It's 12 years, still my pops. That man's been in my life. He's going to be in my life for the rest of my life.
Davion, how old are you now?
I'm 25.
Okay, because people are like, hold on, we went from 15 to, yeah. So you heard it. You heard it from someone that was waiting and went through a zigzag. Davion, I'm so grateful that you were willing to talk about this and to share your experience and to encourage families that are thinking about this and other kids that are still in the system waiting. It's been such a treat to spend time with you.
Thank you so much again, Marcy. I really appreciate this opportunity. I thank you so much again. I love being able to have to do these things, because sometimes my story, I feel like I'm not doing as much as I possibly can, but it's like I have so much personal stuff too right now going on that it's like I don't even have it's hard for me to try to reach out for people who are in this, who are, because there's so many people like me, like you want to see change and he wants to bring awareness. And it's like, it gets hard when you have a lot of personal stuff going on. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I would love to reach out. And I want to do more. I want to help out more. I want to spread more awareness, because it's I don't want another child to go through what I had to go through, and even if they do, I want to make sure that they get out on the other side and they don't end up in a park homeless, or surfing someone's couch and having to do things that they don't want to do just so they can have a roof over their head. And a lot of people do that, and it's so sad to hear. And it's so sad. And it's like, well, I mean, you can just, if you got a job, you get your rent, the services that you can use, just learn. And a lot of times, see me, another thing I had an advantage is that when I went to college, one, in Florida, if you're in a foster system and you age out and you're all the way to 17, you get free college. Tuition, room, board, everything's paid for. On top of that, I was getting a $1,200 check every month while I was in college. And it has to be a state college, but I was getting paid to go to college, and I was able to, afford rent. I was able to afford a car payment and stuff like that.
It's huge. Yeah.
So it's just you have to find out what the resources are. And another message to these kids, find out the real resources and use them to your full advantage. Do not think, oh, this is too much for me. No, it's not. You can do it. But thank you so much. I really, really appreciate this opportunity.
Listeners, did you know that you've helped the Forgotten Adoption Option podcast rank in the top 30% most followed podcasts on Spotify? You are helping waiting children be seen, and you're teaching our nation how to adopt these children. You can help this podcast reach more future adoptive parents by leaving a review and continuing to share this podcast with others. You can even help others know that instead of Googling to try to figure out how to adopt, they should go to ForgottenAdoptionOption.com, where they can learn the step-by-step process, tips for enduring the journey, and I even have a children's book to celebrate the forever families all around us. It means so much that you took the time to listen to this episode. And on behalf of the 113,000 children who each has a name, a story, and dreams, and deserves to grow up experiencing the love and support that is found in a forever family, I thank you so much for caring.